Welcome to Perfectville, your first place podcast for your lousy last place Miami Dolphins, part of the Believe Network, presented by BetOnline.AG. I am Sam Marcoux, and he is the very special, one of a kind content creator du jour, journalist, fan, insider, whatever you want to call him, Mr. Jason Sarney. Jason, how in the hell are you, my friend?
Oh, it's a loaded answer I can give you right now, Sam. But thankfully here, that's half the battle. So thankful for that and thankful for joining you. Appreciate you
Yeah, I
having me.
know. I appreciate you coming on here on very short notice. I reached out to you and you said, "Yeah, let's go ahead and do this." And this is going to be an episode unlike anything I've done in a very long time here at Perfectville. Chris Cullen and I haven't had to do this. Greg Camarillo and I haven't had to do this. So I had to bring in the big guns. I had to bring in a guy who's been living this, call it weird, repetitive Groundhog's Day nightmare just as long, if not longer, than I have. We're about the same age, Jason. We were just talking about. We have seen the same thing year after year, time after time, decade after decade, generation after generation when it comes to Miami Dolphins football. I have not been alive to see the Miami Dolphins win a Super Bowl. Neither have you. This has been our entire life. We've been great at times. We've been good at times. We've been piss poor at other times, mediocre most of that time. It's a frustrating experience being a Miami Dolphins fan, now following them day by day, week by week, writing about them, podcasting about them, blogging about them, talking about them. Whatever it is that you do and I do, it's kind of frustrating to be this close to the Miami Dolphins and see it happening yet again, is it not?
It's Groundhog's Day, really. Wow, it's like so perfect that I'm like, damn, I hate that he's so right on that. And it's almost like, in addition to that, it's like if the same things are happening over and over again, and and it's all negative, but you're going to expect different results just because you have that blind faith, you're going to probably lose your mind. And yeah. I actually kind of woke up this morning thinking, I can't lose my mind. I'm going to have to really look at what these issues were. And my eyes have always been keen to seeing it, but I'm a silver lining guy. Sometimes to my fault. And yes, my bad. Sometimes the orange and aqua glasses get put on, but that doesn't mean that the eyeballs behind them are seeing what we're all seeing. I've done my absolute best for like 5-6 years. That's the time frame I've been kind of wearing the same hats, which you're wearing a nice hat, by the way, I might say.
Thank you.
But, wearing multiple hats in this kind of world. And one of my favorite words, the juxtaposition of being the fan and the writer and the objective and the hopeful, it's created a mishmash of what the hell is going on in my life right now. And that's just pure honesty, but it's what the hell is going on with the Dolphins. And I think there's reasons, and I hope that we're going to find some of those out today and look forward to maybe some change.
Yeah, I mean, I think between you and I, we've got some lists here. We haven't swapped notes, just so everybody knows. We're keeping in true Perfectville fashion. The pre-meeting for this was, hey, would you like to come on and do this? And Jason was like, absolutely. By the way, Jason Sarney, you can find him at Dolphins Talk. He's part of the huge Dolphins Talk network with Mike and everybody else over there. Big E, if you guys know Big E and Marissa. You guys got so many people just running up and down. You guys got Dolphins Talk just about every single day, hence the name. We're going to talk about this. We're going to try to fix the 2024 Miami Dolphins. There's a lot of talk about getting a top 5 pick, maybe parting ways with Tua, getting rid of the coach, all these things that are, probably short-sighted and far into the future from where we are right now. We just finished week 3 of the 2024 season. We're sounding the alarm bell. They are full blast right now. But between Jason and myself, I think we have some ideas on what we can do to make the rest of the season better. And I absolutely know that there's people on this coaching staff that listen to this show, that watch this show, that take notes on this show. So you guys are going to get some free coaching advice, maybe some free general manager, front office advice. Some of the players, you're going to get a couple things out of both Jason and I. We've been watching the game, playing the game for a long time. We're going to help you guys out. We don't have the two-time Hall of Famer Chris Cullen and doctor, but we are going to diagnose some of these problems. We're going to write some prescriptions here, Jason. But before we do that, I have to talk to everyone about BetOnline, and that is because BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything football. BetOnline has every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads to bet on during the games. Trust me, I took advantage of that this weekend. Think you know your stuff? Get in on our $200,000 mega contest and pick 5 games against the spread every week. for your chance at weekly prizes and a share of $200K. When the game's over, head on over to our online casino and get in on a game of blackjack or poker or unwind with one of our over 150 slot games. Jason, what could go wrong with online slots? I think that's just good investment of your money.
I would totally agree. Totally agree. Take my change.
Here you go. Head to the website today and get in on the action. BetOnline, the game starts here. And let's start with the number one thing the Miami Dolphins can do this week to start salvaging this season that looks like it's getting ready to be flushed down the toilet, Jason. What's the number one thing in your mind that the Miami Dolphins can do to turn this thing around?
Well, the number one thing, I'm not going to call this as like the number one thing in terms of like the importance, the end all be all, but the number one thought that should be on the mind today is, do we now say, what the heck? Let's let Snoop Huntley take over and kind of run the show, because this is a quarterback who, if things break down in the normal, he can make things happen in the freelance. And that is something that, I don't believe Tua does as well as others, as admirable as he's shown his ability to make a run and try to get a first down. The ability to do that circus kind of mastery that we've seen from a lot of quarterbacks who could do the foot, do the arm thing. He brings that up. We got him. We don't. Up. There's a tight end driving down the middle of the field. He's going to hit him. And no one thought, give us one of those like 5% play completion percentages things, those next gen stats. Right. We could see that a little bit more from a type of quarterback like a Huntley, as opposed to a Boyle or a Skyler. You know what I mean? So things are from the top down at our last option. But unfortunately, that last option that was just brought on to from a practice squad might just be the best option at this moment for next week or this coming week.
I think you're 100% right. I think you are going to see Snoop Huntley next week. It was probably a little bit too soon to see him against the Seattle Seahawks, given everything that happened 10 days prior, him getting onto the squad, trying to, completely devour this playbook and, be prepared. It just wasn't realistic to have him here, against Seattle. But with an extra day yet again on Monday night against Tennessee, having that extra gear, if you will, or that extra option in terms of what Snoop can do for the Miami Dolphins as the quarterback makes a lot of sense to me. Here's what I do know, and I'm going to piggyback on that because I think you're 100% right. We need a different quarterback option. Listen, I am not as down on Skyler as everybody else. He's not ready, and he was never going to be ready, and it wasn't fair to him to put him out there with that game plan and say, go get him. We're going to talk all about the game plan and some of the personnel changes that need to happen in the groupings and the play calling, all that. I guarantee we're going to talk about that. But here's what I would do. As part of what you're talking about, Jason, I would put Skylar Thompson on IR. The guy clearly had a massive injury yesterday to his ribs. Whether he comes back in 4 weeks, 8 weeks, or not at all this season is irrelevant right now. We're trying to salvage this season. We're trying to win against Tennessee on Monday night. Skylar's not going to be the quarterback. Put him on IR. Put him off to the side and figure out what you have with Tim Boyle, which I'm going to be honest with you, isn't much. Look at Tim Boyle's college record. Look at Tim Boyle's pro record. This is a guy who probably shouldn't be on an NFL roster, just like Skylar Thompson, if I'm being 100% honest. Remember, this is the guy who gave up the worst pick six in the history of the NFL last year to Javon Holland when he was on the Jets. This is not a guy that we're going to win games with. So that gives you Snoop Huntley in the near term. And here's the other thing. We were kind of joking about it over the last 10 days, but I pulled a list of all the free agent quarterbacks that are out there right now, Jason. Here's the list. Brian Hoyer, Blaine Gabbert, A.J. McCarron, Matt Barkley, Trevor Siemian, Ben DiNucci, and some guy named Ryan Tannehill. I think you go sign Ryan Tannehill. He's 36 years old. He knows exactly who he is at this stage of his career. You bring him in and say, we need you to be the starting quarterback for as long as we need you to be the starting quarterback, and then be okay with taking the bench when Tua Tagovailoa comes back, if he comes back. That's what I would do. I would start Snoop Huntley in the interim and then sign a veteran quarterback to be his backup. And you got to let go of Tim Boyle, and you got to put Skylar Thompson on IR. Right there, I think, is an improvement at the quarterback position, which is one of the most glaring needs we have with Tua being out.
I wholeheartedly agree on the theory and the approach, the ideology. Tannehill specific, there are a couple of media folks who are based down there. You're in California, I believe. I'm in Pennsylvania. Guys like the Fort Lauderdale-based guys like Jeff Darlington, like the nitty-gritties. It seems like Tannehill may not jump to an opportunity like this because it doesn't necessarily scream, you're our guy for the rest of the way. So he could be waiting for that, God forbid, knock on wood, I'm not this guy to kind of root for that, but wow, we really need a guy to play 15 games and the playoffs maybe. So that might be a wait and see approach on Tannehill. If, let's say hypothetically, everybody, if for whatever reason there was a backstep and Tua we know was not going to be back in 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 games, if you need to make that double-digit game assumption, yes, if all heads are agreed, then Tannehill would be a good option. Who could be a second option in the veteran quarterback mindset? I didn't love the list. It's a free agent list, so there's a reason why they're not working one way or the other. But if you're a Chris Greer, guy where he's done the trading of the picks and you thought that was kind of normal, well, this is what you need to do. You need to go trade a pick, make it a conditional, make it a 2005 conditional fifth. If this guy starts 90% of this, whatever, Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yep.
That's just a name that knows. You don't have to give him a playbook and say, I'm going to quiz you on it in an hour. It's here's what we're trying to do against the Titans or whomever it is. Right. This is Mike's plan. He'll know it. So
no, I would agree.
I agree with you.
I'm not right at this point. I'm not ready to start trading picks 2025 or otherwise. But to your point, if you're going to go trade, you're probably not going to get a Matt Stafford. I know there's been some rumors and people just throwing some wild accusations out there. The Rams are still playing for this season, and they're not going to get rid of Matt Stafford. And Matt Stafford's not going to come in and go, okay, I'll be the starter until Tua comes back. That's just not what he's looking to do right now. To your point about Ryan Tannehill as well, Jimmy G is a guy who knows this offense. He played with Mike McDaniel in San Francisco. He understands, again, what his role is at this point. I think he's comfortable being the backup and having to come in and just do spot plays like the Chad Henne of the next generation here. He is suspended, I think, for one more game, and then I believe he's able to come back. So that could be something if you can get him at a low cost, a 6th rounder, like you said, maybe a conditional 5th, depending on playing. He could be a guy that could come in and possibly at least move the ball down the field with a little bit more consistency than what we're seeing right now. But the other thing about him is, look, he's got some durability issues just like Tua. So I'm a little concerned about that, but you shouldn't be concerned about durability. If you're wearing a melon hat, ladies and gentlemen, Jason Sarney mentioned it earlier. I am wearing a brand new hat. This is from the company Melon, Melin. And if you're like me, Jason, especially after what we saw on Sunday, I drink a lot of beer. I'm not going to lie. I drank a lot during that game. It was a heavy drinking day, which means today I am sweating a lot. You could probably even see it on camera if you're watching the video feed right now. But what you're not seeing, any stains on this hat. I'm wearing a white hat, ladies and gentlemen. I've got a 3-year-old son. Do you think I wear white clothes? I don't wear white clothes. Why? Because they don't stay white very long. Okay? But I don't see any yellow stains. Jason, you see the yellow stains on this hat? No. He's throwing up the big old 0. And you know why? Because there's no yellow stains. There's no stink. There's none of this. I've been wearing this hat since, I don't know, last week when it came in the mail. I wore it everywhere. I wore it to dinner. I wore it to the bar. I wore it in the shower. I wore it in my pool. This is the Hydro collection. It pops right back into place here, Jason. It looks like a brand new hat right out of the box. It's going to last 5 times longer than your standard hats. Okay. It's got all kinds of antimicrobial stuff. So for the germaphobes out there, you're nice and clean. Even if you're sweating on the inside, it's taking care of all that fungus and gross. It's not even going to be there when you take this hat off at night, if you take it off at night, including the fact that, by the way, this is a snapback. Most snapbacks are one size fits all. I got a big old melon head. Okay, they got snapbacks in small. They got snapbacks in medium. They got snapbacks in extra large. I'm wearing the extra large, comfortable. It's like wearing a pillow on my head. And oh, by the way, this is the summer hat. This is the Hydro, right? Going to keep you nice and cool. It's got all these little droplet holes, everything right there. But they also got the thermal collection. So you get into those winter months, you go to the frozen tundra of Green Bay, you got to wear a hat. Make it a melon thermal hat, ladies and gentlemen. That's the way to go. It's the wave of the future. This is the hat for you. Trust me on this. So if you're looking to make the world's most durable hat, look no further. Go to melon.com. That's melin.com and put it to the test yourself. Golfing, swimming, watching football the day after drinking while watching football. Doesn't matter, Jason. This is the solution to all of my hat needs, at least for right now. We already came up with a couple solutions for the Miami Dolphins here in 2024. We talked about going and getting Snoop Huntley caught up on the playbook. He's got to be your starter going forward. Going and getting another veteran to back him up. You're going to have to part ways with Skyler as well as Tim Boyle. In the meantime, what else, Jason? What else can we do to help the Miami Dolphins here in 2024?
Oh, wow. I mean, something that's almost thematic. It's I understand the aspect of drafting people to develop. I get that. But when you're looking at 3 straight seasons where half or most of your draft class, they're not seeing the field, they're on constant inactives. I want to know ultimately why. I mean, is it the injuries? I mean, is a receiver who's 22 or 23 hurt so much with a quad injury? And this isn't a detriment to Malik White. Do you not want to play him? Was he the wrong pick? Do you want someone else on there? Channing Tindall. Why is he never, I mean, here's a guy that I had high hopes for, admittingly. Georgia Bulldog, one of those guys on the defense. And they all work for Philadelphia.
Yeah.
But we can't get this guy, this speedster. Can't figure it out. Eric Ezukanma. What have you done for me lately? I love the potential. I love the fun, easy, but from a football standpoint, I've almost done more. You've almost done more. You look at Cam Smith. Was it Fangio? Was it classroom ability to retain? Was it work ethic? Was it skill? Why are we not seeing Muhammad Kamara, Patrick McMorris, Taj Watch? It's not worked with almost the vast majority of these draft picks. And you look at teams who draft talented players, throw them into the fire. I'm tired of watching other rookies that we all want grading out at 90, putting tape together that we're saying, what have we been missing? Man, we've been missing a guy like Graham Barton. Oh, we didn't draft Graham Barton. Oh, that's what we missed out. We have a center issue that there's been 5, 6, 7 centers who have gone through drafts that we're watching either get re-signed or dominate, that we're asking the question, why not on our team? So I would stop. I'm going to land here, but stop with the interpositional mixing. Get players who are experts in their field. You joked around that I wear a lot of different, hats. I don't have a hat as good as a melon hat. You're going to get me one. I'm going to get you the funds. But the fact of the matter is, it's master of none. Okay at all. I don't want that. I don't want your Liam Eichenbergs playing 5 positions. I want a purebred center. I want a purebred right tackle. I don't want a guy to switch from left to right. I don't care about lefty righty. I want a purebred at the premier positions. If you want to send a guy in motion and be cutesy with a fullback, with a tight end, that's fine. If you want to use Achane as a receiver, I get that. But let's stop with these interior linemen being outside being interior, non-centers being centers. There's snap issues. Brewer, I love, fine, great, but they've passed on a lot of players who are one sole position players who could have fixed problems years ago. So stop with the cutesiness. Get the players on the field that you put the investment in with draft picks. Get them active, throw them into the fire. That's the only way to find out.
Yeah, it's not lost on me that yesterday we saw our former center, Connor Williams, who had a devastating knee injury last year for us, starting at center for the Seattle Seahawks. Like, there he is. It's week 3. We couldn't have signed him and used him immediately. I mean, Aaron Brewer, I guess, has been okay, but like even yesterday, those snaps are all over the place. I mean, Connor Williams was never that bad in terms of his inconsistency on that, and he was just a much better player in the run game in terms of mauling people in front of him. I agree with you. I think, a lot of these draft picks that we're seeing, we're just not seeing. It's like, why aren't they on the field? Yes, you could draft for the future and you need to, reinvest back into the team as people start to age out, but they need to be able to contribute. Channing Tindall at this point, he's probably got to go to another team. He just doesn't seem, he's been through, 3 or 4 defensive coordinators at this point, and he can't see the field. Really, are our linebackers in front of him that good that Channing Tindall can't even dress unless 4 people are injured? That seems odd to me. I don't know what's going on, but it feels like he shouldn't be here anymore if that's the case. You also mentioned Devon Achane out as wide receiver, first play of the game. And I like this. Yesterday. You had Jalen Waddle, you had Tyreek Hill, you had Devon Achane, and then you had the rookie, speaking of rookies, who actually did show some stuff yesterday out of Tennessee, Mr. Jalen Wright in the backfield. And you get yourself a 20-yard plus gain, immediately throwing the ball to Devon Achane. And this is where I wanted to go with this. The Miami Dolphins have a personnel grouping problem. And one of the things they need to immediately stop doing is having personnel groupings that don't have Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill, and Devon Achane in some combination on the field. I did the research last week. Last year, Jason, through 3 games, the Miami Dolphins targeted Tyreek Hill or Jalen Waddle 45% of the time in the passing game. And oh, by the way, that includes the 70-20 beatdown of the Broncos where Jalen Waddle didn't even play. 45% of the time, almost half of all passing plays went through Tyreek Hill or Jalen Waddle. This year, 34%. You pay Tyreek Hill to make one of the highest paid receivers in the league. He's voted on by his peers to be the best player in the NFL. You give Jalen Waddle a fat amount of money, $80+ million, and you're not throwing them the ball. In fact, you're taking them off the field. There's absolutely no reason why Jalen Waddle or Tyreek Hill should be on the side down situation. I'm sorry. If they're tired or otherwise, you get out there and you run. These guys aren't tired. We're talking early in the game. Tanner Connor should not be running deep posts on third down with Tyreek Hill on the sidelines. That makes no sense. You're setting, in this case, Skylar Thompson up. So going forward, what Mike McDaniel, Frank Smith, and the rest of the offensive geniuses have to do, you cannot have one offensive play, barring injuries, that doesn't have at least one of Devon Achane, Jalen Waddle, or Tyreek Hill on the field at all times. It just cannot happen. You cannot have a personnel grouping with your 4th and 5th and 6th wide receiver and your 7th option in terms of a tight end out there trying to catch the ball. That's not a way to win a football game, in my opinion.
I completely agree with you. And last year, listen, that was a great stat. You know, I love my stat this is ingrained in my head. So I'm pretty sure this is pretty accurate. Last year, from a full standpoint, Tyreek and Jalen combined for 51% of the total Miami receptions, not just wide receivers, everybody. And that led to that's not like an amazing thing versus a bad thing. That's just to your point that the offense will move with peppering them the ball. It will be nice to find the 3rd and 4th options when they need to, sure. But the long play is to get them 7 to 10 targets at least a game each. Yeah. That's fine.
100%. Yeah, I mean, you can't leave Seattle with 32 pass attempts and only 10 of them targeted to Jalen Waddle or Tyreek. I mean, you cannot do it, and that's what I mean. If I said receptions, I meant targets. They were targeted 45% of the time last year, 34% this year. That seems to be by design, and that's a bad design. You need a new architect if that's what your design is. You can't pay your top 2, wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2, the best tandem in the league, in my opinion, and then not give them the ball. That's ridiculous. And they need to figure out a way. I don't care if it's a design bubble screen. I know we joke about bubble screens a lot on social media for the Miami Dolphins. I don't care. Get the ball in their damn hands. Let somebody miss. Look at HN. He's your 3rd option, and he's been fantastic so far this year. And you know what he's done? He's made people miss, and he's gotten extra yards because of it. That's how you extend plays. That's how you extend drives, and ultimately how you get into scoring position, which I think I'm getting off on a rant here, Jason. It's your turn. I gave you what I should be doing. What do you think the Miami Dolphins need to do in addition to what we've already talked about? What else can they do to help themselves?
You used it about 5 minutes ago, the term genius, and I know we have Ivy Leaguer, Mike McDaniel, run game guru, all these fun things. And have we seen it? We've seen aspects and kind of glimmers of, wow, look at what Tua did. He turned to the right, moved to the left, and tossed the ball, and that was really cool looking. I haven't seen a lot of that. Whoa, that's a really fun motion, running all the way like a big half a U. And, they're just not going to throw to him. So that was just a decoy up sack. So it's like, I get what you're trying to do. But here's the deal with the Mike McDaniel play calling situation. I am not, and Sam, if you have graphics, if you have any music, let's sound the alarms like Pee Wee Herman. I'm not asking to alleviate the play calling or to get away from the play calling, Mike. I'm not. Stick with your play calling, but time, area, field, personnel, as you alluded to. If you're going to, I use this example from the Bills game. If you're going to be in the red zone and throw a seam route to a tight end, and you bring in Jonnu Smith, and he's not the guy running that route, and he's got 15 red zone. Why do I know that? Why do I know that he's got 15 red zone touchdowns? And the Dolphins had 0 touchdowns from last year for the tight ends. Run him on the seam route, not Julian Hill, who can't catch.
It's insane to me, Jason, just what we've seen. I don't know if he's outsmarting himself. I have maintained, and I've been saying this for the last couple of years, Mike McDaniel might be the best play designer I have ever seen. Those orbit routes, all of the orbit motions, all of those things, I love seeing Tua turn right, then go left, and all of a sudden it looks like he almost sneezed and the ball came out, and you're like, oh, that guy caught it and he's running. I love all that. And that's actually one of those intangibles that Tua can do, that Skylar Thompson and Tim Boyle cannot. But the play calling is different than play design. He can sit there and he can design all these crazy gadgets, but the time and when to do it is equally as important as the play design itself. And that leaves a lot to be desired. This is making its way on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it these days, but it was 2nd and 1 yesterday. We got 9 yards on first down with Devon Achane right up the middle. What do? They line up in a classic I formation with turning around and a fake handoff to Alec Ingold, who would have picked up at least 8 yards if you look at how that box was set up for the Seattle Seahawks on defense. And instead, we toss it to a slow developing play to the outside, which even with all these speedsters, that never really seems to work for anybody not named Raheem Mostert for the Miami Dolphins. So why are you setting yourself up with negative yardage possibilities by sending Devon Achane outside where the linemen can't actually get bodies on the defenders in front of them because they have to move along with it? You're relying on Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, and these smaller guys to try to block for him. Just run the ball up the middle. You did that against Jacksonville week 1. You had it twice for 8 yards and 2 first downs. Why can't we just commit to doing that? So this is what I'd like to see. No more runs. That's ridiculous. Less runs to the outside, more runs up the middle. Seattle was conceding that yesterday. They were going to fine, you're going to run the ball on us, but we still think we're going to be able to stop Skylar Thompson in this passing game. We'll do everything we can to prevent you from scoring or going over the top, which is exactly what every team's been doing so far this year. Less runs to the outside on short yardage situations, more runs to the middle. Now, they did try it later and it didn't work with Alec Ingold. And of course, he fumbled, but I would rather them try that, make an actual sound decision, and then it comes down to execution versus now you got to hyper execute on a bad play call. So less runs to the outside, more runs to the inside. By the way, Achane and Jalen Wright ran way better in between the tackles than they did on the outside. So maybe take advantage of the fact that these fast, hard-running running backs can actually run faster in a straight line than a slow developing to the outside cut and run. That's my thought.
Oh, it's a terrific thought, and it brings me up to another thought to piggyback off this. Against Jacksonville, my favorite aspect, other than the Javon Holland and all the fun things that was the great, Alec Ingold 2 for 2 on rushing up the middle on 3rd and 1.
Yeah.
Now, here's the problem. You're a comedian. Are you familiar with the rule of 3, the comic
Correct.
rule of 3? You can only do things 3 times in a set. The 4th time it gets redundant. You got to know when to leave on the high note, or you got to change and kind of pivot when someone might know something's coming, because that's where you get people. It's like, they thought I was going to know. You flipped it on us. Where's the play action? Whereas after the 3rd time, you make it like everyone thinks that Ingold's going to get that ball. Just tuck it in. Skylar Thompson is good at play action. Where was that? Where, that's when you hit a guy like a Durham Smythe where, geez, if he drops that ball, my God, a naked bootleg where Skylar could have a free range to just scamper 9 yards to the sticks or get the first down and just go out of bounds. Remember watching your Peyton Mannings, your Eli's, your Tom Brady's, and sometimes they'll either just run, get what they need, go out of bounds, give themselves up, or just in disgust, the Tom Brady.
Yep.
He'll just throw it down and just kill the play, live to play another.
You're absolutely right. I mean, I don't know. It's like he's designing that every play is the last play of the game and they have to score a touchdown. And sometimes you just need to get 2 yards, quite literally 2 yards. And then you get a whole new fresh set of downs and you can just tinker with all the different gadget plays that you got in there again. I mean, 1st down and 10 is that time to go, okay, we're going to do, multiple orbit routes, cheat motions and everything else. He's got to do better in terms of being disciplined with his play calling, and he's going to have somebody. This is what I like to see. We saw some accountability after the Buffalo Bills game. You can't tell me that Grant DuBose could not come back. He's on injured reserve for a reason. It's because the ball hit him so hard between the eyes that he probably has a concussion, which is why the ball bounced right back into the Buffalo Bills' hands. Robbie Chosen was cut off the practice squad. You know how bad you have to be cut from the practice squad? That shows me that he ran the wrong route, doesn't know what he's doing, can't be here anymore. Mike McDaniel needs an accountability partner. He needs somebody, and this is leading to my next point, Jason. He needs somebody to tell him it's 3rd and 1. It's 2nd and 1. Get the first down. We don't need a touchdown on this play. We need a first down on this play. We got to give our defense a rest. You're going to have sustained drives, live to throw another day or another down, as it were. Here's the other thing I want to see. This one's very simple. This is something that I can't believe I even have to say on the show here, Jason. The huddle. The offensive huddle needs to break at, in my opinion, 15 seconds. You need to have 15 seconds left on the clock to get to the line and do everything you got to do before the snap. They're breaking the huddle with 6 seconds left in some cases, Jason. You can't do it. You can't. And you burn timeouts or you take a penalty or there's some sort of procedural issue because everybody's on a rush. I mean, Skylar Thompson's back there doing cartwheels, trying to get the ball from his center because it's so loud. You guys have to have a better game plan breaking the huddle, and you have to break the huddle in my opinion, 15 seconds. Give your offense a chance to run whatever fun play you want to run. And if you can't break it by 15 seconds, then you got to have that accountability partner. Get that. I don't care. Give them 2 plays. Say, this is for this play. And then after this play, we're going to run this next play. You have to break that huddle sooner. This is one of the things that's been driving me absolutely batshit crazy for 3 years with Mike McDaniel is the undisciplined offensive coordination when it comes to breaking huddles, pre-snap penalties, procedural issues. Those all have to be cleaned up, but it's going to start with something that you can control as a coach, and that is getting that play in sooner and making sure you practice it all week, Jason. You got an extra day. Take 1 extra day and practice breaking a huddle with 15 seconds left on the play clock and see what happens.
I mean, when you have less time to do your business up at the line, when it really matters, especially on the road, hostile environment, 3rd down. You saw it. You saw. He was like, he was like going crazy. Give me the ball.
Yeah.
Like they weren't ready. And just to kind of the simplification of something like a Hail Mary, how they ended that half. Skylar Thompson is lucky he didn't get like. I forgot what Seahawk made the tackle, the sack, or the hit. He held up. Okay? He could have ended Skylar Thompson. So kudos to the human being who just said, oh, this guy's done. I'm not going to make him DOA. All right? Like, I'm just going to hit him. But he didn't pulverize him. But to not take a couple of steps back, throw the ball the 50 yards that an NFL arm should be able to do, and just say, who cares? If I throw a pick, what happened? No one is doing the Javon Holland again, because that only happened to my mind once.
Exactly.
So if you're playing the numbers, Ivy League guy, throw the damn ball after a 3-second drop on a Hail Mary and run to the end zone, wide receivers. Don't break off your routes.
Yeah. This whole let's run a 15-yard out by Jalen Waddle and Alec Ingold, who, I mean, it's the last play. There's zeros on the clock. It's a free play. You're just running 5 streaks. You're getting down there. You're throwing the ball. You're hoping there's a receiver or somehow there's a penalty, although the rest probably, well, maybe they would have called a penalty in that game. They called a penalty on everything else. But you can't do what Skylar Thompson did. As I said, it's probably a tasteless joke, but, you know, he has the awareness of Helen Keller. Like, I got in my car and drove to Seattle and could have made that. That's how much time he held on to that ball. I mean, it was awful. And by the way, I live in San Francisco, so that's quite a long drive away. That's kind of the whole point here. And you mentioned stats, right? You mentioned numbers. Here's the other thing that I need the Miami Dolphins to do less of or more of, depending on how you look at this. The data, the probabilities are telling Mike McDaniel he should be going for it more often on 4th down. But the stats are telling him a different story, Jason. The stats are telling him through 3 games that you've been successful once and you tried it double digits. You got to stop going for it in your own territory on 4th down. You got to stop going for it on 4th and 6. All of a sudden, Jake Bailey looks like the Jake Bailey of 3, 4, 5 years ago. He's punting the hell out of the ball. He's got an amazing hang time. He is the only weapon that we have right now that is consistent outside of Devon Achane. Use him. You know, I hate to go back to the Tony Sperano school of any possession that ends in a kick is a good possession, but that's where we're at right now. You know, if you fix all these other things, great. You still have issues with your offense, which we're going to try to fix as we go forward. But you got to use your weapons. You got to utilize your resources. We talked about Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, getting them the ball more often and targeting them. You got to use Jake Bailey. He's dropping the ball inside the 10-yard line consistently. And what happened? We tried to kick that field goal 57 yards. I wouldn't have done that. That was even hindsight. That was like, we just should not do that. And then what happened? They went down and scored immediately. You have to use the weapons. You have to play to your strengths. And right now, I'm not saying it's going to happen forever, but right now, the strength of Jake Bailey as your punter tells you if it's 4th down and 3, unless you're in a game, you know, towards the end of the game where you have to score or something like that, or you're down in the 20-yard line, you know, red zone area, it might make more sense to go for it. You can't be lining up for 60-yard field goals. You can't be going for it on your own 40 with 4th and 7. Not with this offense, not the way we're playing. You got to punt that ball away and live and let your defense, which is the strength right now, weirdly enough, let them go try to make a play for you, because they've shown they can do that. They did it twice yesterday against Geno Smith, and we couldn't even score a touchdown. They did it against the Jacksonville Jaguars week 1. Buffalo, that's kind of an outlier if we're talking stats. That's like that one game that's way up here, charted way up here against everyone. I mean, throw the Buffalo game out. Until we can fix that, Buffalo stats don't even matter to me. But you're not playing smart coaching football if you're going for it on 4th and 6 in your own territory. It's just dumb. It's dumb.
I agree with you, and I like that we did not collaborate on our notes here, because I think we're feeding off each other well. No, I like this, because you mentioned earlier you don't have to score on every play. Well, you know what? You're right, and you need sometimes to do a play to set up a play or to set up something in the future. I alluded to that with the play action after the Ingold scenario, but to your point on the punting, the choice could be, do I take not the guarantee or the chance of the 3 points here? Whereas if I miss it, they're like in their own end zone already. They're like literally in their own territory. Whereas if the guy who's booting the ball really well gives us an inside the 10 defensive start and we 3 and out them, they're one mistake away from us starting at the 30. So even if we 3 and out, we got a 47-yarder instead of you won. You left the casino with $1 in your pocket and you didn't lose any money. But you played for about 10 minutes longer than you would have liked to have bared that fruit. But here's something that I'll let you guess it, and I'll tell you if you're right, one guess. A former Miami Dolphin quarterback told me, you can't go broke taking a profit. Do you know who that was?
I'm going to say Jay Fiedler.
Damn right. What kind of team was that team? Defensive-minded. He did not want to put himself in positions or the team in positions. He was a gritty guy. That was his smart, gritty play. No one really could take that over Jay Fiedler. Obviously, the limitations were, you're replacing Dan Marino. I don't got to tell you more, But for taking what is given to him, you can't go broke taking a profit.
100%. And, and I kind of joked last week. I think the playbook for Skylar Thompson this week should have been, he just opens it up and it's Trent Dilfer in a Ravens uniform on every single page. Like, that should have been it. Take what they give you. Don't try to be anything outside of who you are, and success will follow. Unfortunately, I don't think we gave him that playbook. I think we said, here's Tua's playbook. Just put your name in Sharpie over the top of it. Good luck to you. Look, we're talking to Jason Sarney from DolphinsTalk.com. We've been talking about how to fix the 2024 Miami Dolphins. Obviously 1-2 after an embarrassing loss to the Seattle Seahawks, 24-3 yesterday. And by the way, the score was even as close. I mean, the score was way closer than the actual outcome should have been. I feel like the Seattle Seahawks almost were like, we got this. We don't even have to really try very hard in the second half. So everyone's giving the praise to the defense for only allowing 7 points, which rightfully so. They're better than what the offense was. But I think Seattle could have really turned this on if they really, really wanted to, which is why I want to bring up one other thing for me. We've been focused a lot on the offense, and rightfully so. This is supposed to be the best offense ever, and it's not. But the defense, I'm convinced that Jordan Poyer is a spy for the Buffalo Bills at this point. This guy is not performing the way that we thought he should be performing. And I put that on yesterday, that he's not as good as he used to be on Twitter. And every Buffalo Bill fan's like, we told you. And I'm like, well, I think you're all blocked on my Twitter. So I don't think I heard that. But the point is, Jordan Poyer was supposed to come in and offer veteran leadership, which I think he has done. I believe he has brought that, kind of the intangibles off the field. But he was supposed to be paired with Javon Holland to allow for this defensive backfield to be better than it was last year. And I don't think we are. I think Jordan Poyer is a liability at this point. Javon Holland's very, very good. He made a mistake yesterday against DK Metcalf, and that was it. 71 yards later, touchdown, game over at that point. The safeties have to be much better than they have been through 3 games so far. Javon Holland had a great week 1. I didn't see much in week 2. I didn't see really anything yesterday. What do we got to do on the defensive side of the ball? For me, we got to figure out a way to get the safeties playing better. I don't know what that looks like right now, but there's got to be an accountability factor there somewhere. What do you think?
From a defensive standpoint, which hasn't been egregiously bad, there's been things that, all things considered, new defensive coordinator yet again, and a lot of new names, new names filtering in. You lose Christian Wilkins, Andrew Van Ginkel, topics that we can, other podcasts full, we can go on those. But I don't mind saying we're at week 3-4, like it's not perfected yet. But what has been advertised as Weaver's strength is star safety play, no pun intended. So Holland should be enhanced consistently. Jordan Poyer, mask the veteran he lost a step in Buffalo, but Anthony Weaver is going to put him in a chance to succeed. Marcus May is a veteran. Like, we're not bringing the best out of the guys who we've brought in to mix with the best aspect of what Weaver supposedly is, mixing these exotic 3 safety looks, getting these, pressures, rotating these defensive linemen so well that it's just creating, you don't need a superstar. We got guys in the aggregate who could help out. I'm not out on that at all. I'm here where we should be, where there should be a month to kind of, get assimilated or acclimated, whatever you want to say, for Weaver and his guys. But the theme, we're not going to keep a guy like a Brandon Jones. We're going to spend equal money on a veteran. I'm not saying Brandon Jones is the end-all be-all. Had a nice interception yesterday.
Sure.
But Jones was a guy that when you blitzed him, when Brian Flores blitzed him, he led DBs 2021 in sacks. And then another defensive coordinator takes over in the name who I won't say because it infuriates me, Josh Ware, but he doesn't keep that going with Jones. And then Fangio might be able to use a guy like Brandon Jones, but he doesn't use him like the way he could be used. Other names that I could say who could have been given a chance at the safety position to extend their potential in their career, Nick Needham, has not been given an opportunity to show what they can do and what they've worked hard to do. We're just going to go on the brand name with Poyer or May or draft one or try to just create something that they might already have and not just give them an opportunity. Give people the right opportunity to do what they're actually here for, and that's play football. And I think the Dolphins have missed on a couple of those things, giving the right person the right opportunity to stay and make a name for themselves here.
I totally agree with you. I mean, I there's nothing that you said that I can disagree with or poke holes in at this point. I mean, there was some outstanding defensive players that were told goodbye from Perfectville this past offseason, some that you are very familiar with that are out there making plays and proving that they weren't just quote unquote system people or opportunistic. They're out there actually creating their own destiny in many ways, defensive players. And we're left holding the bag going, well, man, that was one of our own, and we let him go. And oh, by the way, too, I mean, it was out there yesterday. Robert Hunt just manhandling people in Carolina. What's by the way, Andy Dalton. I mean, Carolina, kudos to them. Hats off to them. I'm not taking my melon hat off, but hats off to them for doing what they needed to do. Bryce Young wasn't working. We're not going to trade him. We're going to put him back on the bench. We're going to give him a chance to catch his breath. We're going to bring Andy Dalton in, and we're going to play the game that we know how to play with a veteran QB who can calm everybody down and say, we have weapons, we have talent. Everybody relax. We're going to be just fine. It was the home opener for the Las Vegas Raiders, who were coming off a big win against the Baltimore Ravens. The Raiders were jacked up and ready to go. Carolina was considered the worst team in the NFL. That might be our distinction now. And they went in there and actually boat raced the Raiders in the desert. That's right. A boat race in the desert. Carolina Panthers, good job for you. However, last one for me. I said last one was the last one. This is the last one because I didn't get a chance to look it up. But the fact that I even had to go, how many times has this happened, is all the evidence I need. Julian Hill should not be on the field for the Miami Dolphins. He is at best, the third string tight end. He has a minimum of 5 penalties through 3 games. Your third string tight end should not have 5 penalties in a season, let alone through 3 games. I don't know what he's doing, but he's doing it wrong. Yes, he had 1 catch at the end of the game in cleanup, mop-up duty, which made nothing to me. It means absolutely nothing. I don't understand why Julian Hill is on this team, quite frankly, and I don't understand why he's in the game. What is he doing to allow him to have so many snaps on offense, Jason? What am I missing? Because right now, the only thing that seems to be missing is Julian Hill not holding or false starting or something. It should be 3 and done. If you're the third string tight end and you have 3 penalties, you're off the squad. Sorry, you're not activated. We're bringing somebody else up, maybe a Nick Needham or somebody else, to bring onto the actual squad because you're not helping or contributing. Is he a special teams ace and I'm missing it? What's going on with Julian Hill?
I mean, look, you know me. I love the undrafted free agent stories. I like that to a point. And then I realized that, all right, where did Julian Hill play his college? Campbell. Okay. So he was making his bones. And I mean this as respectfully as possible. I really do. But he was playing against guys who were wearing the white collars and ties
Right.
and are in the business world right now. I don't see many other players from Campbell or that conference in the NFL. So from what he's done it collegiately, it's not, you don't need to be a master's student or even a professor to say, all right, obviously there's a heavier dose of competition here for Julian. Why he's still being given look, I'm not a guy to beg for another person to lose his job, but if you're an excellent basketball player and you have 4 fouls every first half, you're not going to play much in the second half.
Correct.
Like, you're just not, and that's the comparison with penalties. If you are a 25-yard detriment to your team on average per game, and you're not making up for that offensively, ain't George Kittle, Julian, sorry, but you got to fix it. If that's fix it. That Saturday Night Live gif or whatever it is. I mean, fix it.
I've never looked at it that way, and I'm glad you did. If you're a negative 25-yard, if coming into the game, we have to account for the fact that you are going to be worth negative 25 yards due to penalties, that alone should disqualify you from dressing for that game. I mean, you either better go out there and score a touchdown and get 30 yards receiving minimum to make up for that, which he's not going to be. I mean, maybe in this offense right now, he's the target because we're not giving the ball to Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. But if we fix the other things, Julian Hill should not be on the other than like a jumbo package, 4th and 1. You're bringing in all the big boys to push the other big boys and try to get your 1 or 2 yards. But they're not even doing that. So I just don't quite understand. I like the way you said that. You are a negative yard player by default when we walk in. Yes, you are an alumni of the Campbell Camels, which I believe is their mascot.
Is that?
I believe so.
Well, it can't hit water if it fell off a boat. I'll tell you that much.
He is the great Jason Sarney from DolphinsTalk.com. We fixed, I think, if they were to do the things that we just talked about, Jason, if they broke the huddle earlier, if they held people accountable for their penalties, if they gave the ball to Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle and Devon Achane, and they let him not come off the field, at least all 3 at the same time, if they had accountability from their safeties, if they did the things that we're talking about right now, let your rookies play or draft better rookies.
Right.
I think the Miami Dolphins would be at least looking at 2-1 right now, even with the injury to Tua Tagovailoa, and probably in a much better position going into Monday night against the Tennessee Titans. As it stands right now, it's looking like a lost season. So the last thing before we part ways here, and you get back to writing your articles and being on DolphinsTalk.com, what is your expectation for the rest of the season? I know that's a loaded question given everything we just saw this last week. Is this a team that can turn it around and at least make it to 500? Or are we looking at one of those seasons, the 2007, 2008, Dave Wanstead era, Cam Cameron era type teams where strap in and just start looking at the collegiate game on Saturday to see who the prospects are going to be in the top of the first?
Wow. I'm going to go just historical nostalgia. So for fans of a like age to Sam and I, there have been moments that we've known that things are just going not well. And when Marino went down, when your terrific co-host, Greg Camarillo, saved us with a 1, I don't think we're heading there. Okay. So we've been a team that has gone 1-15 and then changed it the next year by winning a division, by literally changing the whole lot and creating a new fat offense. I don't know that we're going to do that. I don't think this is lost. I think that the next week and the decisions, the next 2 weeks, if there has not been a massive change, if we're doing this next week and we're saying, let's go back to our list, did they fix anything? And the answer was they didn't do anything. I'm going to answer that question is pack your bags. We're done.
Yeah.
But I want to see, once again, I'll put on the goggles one more time. I hate this adversity as opportunity, but put your money where your mouth is or shut up.
Yeah. I mean, at some point you got to take advantage of the opportunity, right? And, it goes back to the end of last season. I mean, there's a lot of famous stats out there right now. People are talking about it. The Barry Jacksons of the world, the David Hydes of the world. This is not just a 2024 problem. At the end of 2023, we had a problem with offense as well. The defenses have figured out how to stop what we have mainly been doing since Mike McDaniel got here. He's going to have to figure out a way to use those same weapons, but in a different way to be successful. I'm hoping he can do it against Tennessee. We owe them one, by the way, because that loss last year is what actually really made us go on the road more than anything else.
Yeah.
So hopefully we got a little bit of an answer on Monday night again, and we can end this discussion with a 2-2 heading into New England week, which would be a lot of fun to see. But before we get out of here, Jason, anything you'd like to say, anything you want to promote? The floor is yours for the next 30 seconds before we get out of the town of Perfectville.
Well, I appreciate you having me on, Sam. I love chopping it up with you. I think you guys do a great job over at Perfectville. With that said, of course, condolences to the family of Mercury Morris. When you mentioned Perfectville, he is and will always be the mayor. So, rest in the heavenly kingdom, sir. With Don Shula and Jim Kick. It was really devastating because Mercury was just an amazing person, and just wanted to get that out there. Also, just don't give up on this team yet out there. Give it another week or so. Let's see what happens with the bye week. Let's see if these people could, the coaches can change it up. But as for where I'm at, I'm over at Dolphins Talk. You could see my stuff there. And kudos to Michael Leva, who really has put together a hell of a site and giving some great people their opportunity to shine. So thank you, Sam.
Yeah, go check. No, thank you. Go check out everything Jason Sarney does. Follow him on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. Follow him on Dolphins Talk. He's got his own podcast. He's writing for just about every newspaper in the world at this point. I don't know exactly where he's printed these days, but I see his name pop up all over the place. And yes, I was going to end on Mercury Morris, but Jason went ahead and did that. So I'm just going to piggyback on that and just say Mercury Morris is the reason why Welcome to Perfectville is named Welcome to Perfectville. I've told the story many, many times, but during the undefeated season for the New England Patriots, watching Mercury Morris go on SportsCenter Sunday night after every single win and become more agitated and more irritated with each win of the Patriots until one day he finally said, until they win the Super Bowl, there's only one town in the town of Perfectville. And I was like, that is amazing. I don't know how I'm going to use that or when I'm going to use it, but I'm going to use it someday. And here we are. I've been doing this show with Chris Cullen and others for the last 8 years, and it's named after Mercury Morris, proudly announcing the town of Perfectville. I think it fits him. It fits the Miami Dolphins for what they did back in 1972. And I just appreciate everything that he has done, not only for the Miami Dolphins and the franchise as somebody who's a historian of this team, but what he's actually done for my show, right? It wouldn't be called Perfectville, probably be called something else, some sort of Fins-related knockoff, the Fingery Report or something like that. But it's called Welcome to Perfectville, and it made us stand out when we started the show 8 years ago. So Mercury Morris, thank you for that. Thank you for what you did on the football field. Thank you for what you did for here on the show. And the only thing left to say to Mercury Morris, as well as everybody, on behalf of Believe, presented by BetOnline.AG, the two-time Hall of Famer Chris Cullen, Miami's hero Greg Camarillo, and of course Dolphin Talks Jason Sarney. Goodbye from Perfectville.